For America, this is a great day for constitutionally limited government. The court said the president doesn't have the power to decide when the Senate's in session. Only the Senate can decide that. And when the Senate decides that it's not in recess, the president may not issue a recess appointment.
Republican Senator Mike Lee applauding today's Supreme Court decision limiting President Obama's authority to make recess appointments. Several members of the court who wanted to go, Ron said that the president was lucky, to go a lot further and to simply restrict the president's ability to make almost any recess appointments.
But I think it goes beyond the issue of recess appointments and beyond the effect on labor relations and the balance between labor and business. I think this is a stinging rebuke to Obama overreach in general, and I think it will have implications for other cases. Remember the argument the Democrats have made up to now with the Boehner lawsuit, which is going to challenge overreach in other areas. This is simply a partisan attack on the president. What the court is saying, this is a constitutional travesty, what happened in this case. And the way it was written, remember, it was written by a liberal majority, by Justice Breyer. He wrote the opinion, and the way he struck down the appointment by the president is to say, the Senate is in session when it says it is in session. A tautology, a truism, something that, as Ron says, a 3-year-old knows, which means the Senate is in recess when the Senate says it is in recess. And the implication is here's a president who went against that truism, that tautology, and not only wantonly appointed all these guys who gave dozens of decisions over a year and a half, but then defended it all the way to the Supreme Court. This is ridiculous. This is the 12th time that the administration has been shut out 9-0 in challenges in the Supreme Court, which is unprecedented. Coming after a rebuke earlier in the week on the EPA overreach, I think this bodes well for the Boehner lawsuit challenging the president's overreach.
Very briefly, 30 seconds, your thoughts.
Look, I think, of course, it's going to restrict a Republican president, and it should. As Scalia wrote in his concurring opinion, what's at stake here is not even the prerogatives of the Senate. What's at stake here is the liberty of the citizenry. Even if the Senate over the years had conceded authority and given up its authority to the president, it has to be stopped. It isn't allowed to do that. The reason that we have a separation of powers is to prevent tyranny. So it should apply to both parties, and they're going to have to like it and lump it if they disagree with its effect on policy. This isn't about policy. This is about the structure of the Constitution.
Let's say I shouldn't have said the, I think, 5 or so words that I said, but you know, my inartful use of those few words doesn't change who I am, what I've stood for my entire life, what I stand for today.
I bought 14 of them that much.
Oh, you really did?
Yeah, and in 2 different runs. I bought 5 at Christmas and 9 when I was there, and I just give them away and hope that I'll make you more customers.
Danger is the narrative coming out that she's tied to Wall Street and big business, and these are the people who are footing the bill for these big speeches. It's a dangerous narrative.
Let me pick up on that, Charles, because Lord knows there are plenty of things to criticize Hillary Clinton for, everything from Hillary Care to the reset with Russia to Benghazi. But the question I have is, if she runs, Clinton will be running with liberal democratic policies, reaching out social domestic policies. Isn't it going to be hard for Republicans to portray her as not as insensitive to what the middle class is going through?
Republicans aren't going to have to do it. She's doing it herself. These are unforced errors. She's been asked very easy questions. As Ron said, they're pretty easy answers. I think Bill should simply have said, yeah, I made a lot of money. I think everybody ought to. Everybody in America ought to be able to buy 14 Swiss watches, give them away. That'd be a great country. Look, they are obviously defensive about this. What hurt Romney on the wealth issue was not that he was wealthy. As we heard in the report, obviously FDR, the Kennedys were wealthy, but it's a question of how you handle it. Romney was never comfortable. They obviously are not comfortable with being called rich, and they hang around billionaires, and to them, that's rich, because these guys don't work and don't have to pick up anything other than capital gains. But, you know, her defensiveness came out in her 3rd shot at this, when she said, and we just heard her say, what was it, 5 words or so? It doesn't matter how many words. A gaffe is a gaffe. It doesn't, The seriousness of the gaffe isn't a function of the length of the gaffe, it's the essence of it. And the essence of it was her saying, you know, I was, you know, sort of self-pitying how hard, how tough it was. I think that's the problem. It's not going to be policy, it's how likable she is. Remember, she was a shoo-in in 2008?
This has been a Sunfish production.